welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show. I am the guest presenter today. My name is Carolyn Southwell, and we're going to talk about how to make friends as a projector or orchestrator. So let's jump straight into the slides now. Put them up so you can see them. There we go. Okay, so over the next 45 to 60 minutes or so, I'm going to run through the following: who this video lesson is for, who I am to teach a class about this topic, why this class is going to be a really good use of your time, and what you can do to make it an even better use of your time, what a real friend is, like let's actually make sure we know what we're talking about, what is a real friend, and how to make real friends, like really nurturing deep friendships with people that make you feel really good. And I've also snuck some information about the role of unconscious beliefs in there. And at the very end, we'll talk about some resources that you can use if you want to go deeper. So if you have your hands free, or you can have them free, now is a great time to grab a pen and paper and scribble some notes, because the more that you take notes and engage with the material, write down your own insights and breakthroughs and answer questions, or notice anything that really resonates with you or really lands for you, the more you're going to remember from this class. So let's mind the language. No, that doesn't mean I'm going to be dropping F-bombs. Although, if you ever work with me personally, you'll notice that I love the occasional creative piece of language. But Karen Curry Parker isn't such a fan of it, so there'll be none of that here today. What I'm mostly talking about with the language is the terms projector and orchestrator. Projector is a traditional human design term and is my default because that was my original training. And orchestrator is a term that you might be familiar with if you have been doing more of Karen's recent stuff in the last couple of years, where she's been teaching about quantum human design. So if you hear me say projector, know that I am also talking about you if you know the word orchestrator. Same. Okay, and you'll also notice I am Australian, so my spelling is all in Australian English. So if you see anything on the slide that looks a bit odd, it looks a bit unfamiliar, it's probably the way we spell it in Australia. Okay, so this class is for you if you are a projector who feels confused about how to make friends, you feel lonely or ignored, you feel like maybe there's something wrong with you, you feel used or taken advantage of by your so-called friends, or you feel like you're surrounded by people who are just incapable of the depth that you seek. The class is also for you if you are supporting a projector. So if you are another type and you are a parent of a projector, or a coach, a mentor, a teacher, or a fellow human design specialist. Now, what I'm assuming at this point is that you are not totally new to human design, that you already know that projectors are here to wait for the invitation. You know what that means, and you've made some degree of peace about that fact. I'm also assuming that you already know what a true invitation looks like and how it makes you feel, that it makes you feel recognized, and that you already are very aware of that. I'm also assuming that you are actually struggling to make real friends, and it's a problem that you genuinely want to solve, that you haven't just given up and gone, it's too hard, I must be broken, it can't be fixed, everyone else sucks, or whatever the story might be. I'm assuming that you actually genuinely want to solve this problem, and that you understand, or at least you're open to seeing how you've been conditioned to think and behave, and that's actually at the root of the problem here. Okay, now I have shared here a link to the previous quantum alignment show that I did, which is actually going to be a good foundation for you. If you have heard what I've just said on the last couple of slides and you're like, Carolyn, I feel like it's a bit over my head what you're talking about. I think I need something a bit more basic, foundational to get me started. If that's how you're feeling, pause this video, type that link into your URL and go and find the class that I did on becoming an empowered orchestrator projector, because that will fill in some pieces and help you get a better understanding of what it means to be a projector in all relationships, and more about this invitation recognition thing. And then you can come back and watch this class and it will layer really nicely on top of that. Okay, so who am I to be teaching about this? Well, this is me. I'm a 2/4 emotional projector. I used to really struggle to make friends. Big time. It was my story for about 30 years. It was really, really difficult. Now I have friends who adore me, thankfully, but that didn't happen by accident. So I've been working with human design for 7.5 years. I started coaching 9.5 years ago. I started doing various versions of tapping in my first couple of years with human design, and I'm now a certified practitioner in EFT. So I did my training with a master trainer through EFT International. So that is the reason that you're going to see me talk some more about beliefs in this process, because I have discovered over many years that human design and an understanding in belief and belief change work, they go hand in hand. And it's really, really, really hard to break some of these patterns and live according to your design unless you know how to layer in this understanding around beliefs. Okay, anyone who knows human design really well will be able to look at my chart and see heaps of things about me already. I have the design of a teacher, and one of my superpowers is simplifying the heck out of everything that I learn. So that's what I'm aiming to do today, make things as simple and accessible for you as possible. So let's see where I'm up to on my notes. We've done that. We've done that. Ha! Yes, I'm a work in progress, just like you. Now, if you want to be really entertained, you can pause this slide and actually read through it, but it's not necessary. The key point that I wanted to point out to you here is this heading, that I'm a work in progress, just like you. Because I'm heaps better at making friends than I used to be, but there's still some things that I have in my goals for my ideal life, my ideal social life, that I haven't achieved yet, and that's okay. So if we can think about this as a continuum, think about where you are on this continuum. Maybe you're really not so great at making friends and you'd like to move a step in the right direction of having some friends who think you're pretty cool and who you enjoy being around. Or maybe you're already at that stage in the continuum and you want to move to, oh my gosh, I have so many friends and I just love my life and I love them, and I just feel really, really full and full of love and full of gratitude for how this area of my life looks. Or maybe you resonate more with the part of the continuum where I'm talking about how you feel. So maybe you feel bitter, lonely, sad, confused, broken. And if that's the case, then we don't need to jump straight to you being the most loved and adored projector on the planet who is surrounded by friends that are like the perfect match for you. We just want to push it in the right direction. And as you move your way along the continuum, it will get easier to move along to the next spot along the continuum, and things can just get better and better. We have a real fallacy in our society of thinking, oh, here's the problem, and I'm just going to jump straight to the solution. And if we think about it that way, we set ourselves up for failure. What works really better with solving all problems, not just making friends, but like growing our business or improving our familial relationships or improving our mental health or improving our physical well-being, anything at all, improving your finances. Our nervous system works really well by taking little steps regularly over time. And thinking about it in this incremental way is going to help you set you up for success much better than thinking you're going to take some giant leap all in one go. Okay? It's not really how it works as a 3D dense human being. So if you can think about it like this, I am where I am and I want to move a chunk in the right direction. And once that feels really comfortable and normal, then I'll move a chunk further and further. And you can have an ultimate goal of what you'd ideally love, but please don't expect yourself to get there at the end of this class or the end of this year. You might work towards that over a number of weeks, months, years even. Okay? All right. why this will be a good use of your time. So this is going to be a good use of your time if you'll be able to see that you are not alone. If you are a projector who has struggled to make friends, you are not alone. So you'll see this. You'll learn some practical tips that are specifically for projectors that you probably didn't learn when you were a child. I know I didn't. We didn't have parents around 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago who really understood that as projectors, we're a little bit different and we need a different set of play rules. You'll also get to see the role that your unconscious beliefs play in your current circumstance and learn what you can do to change them. Now, I put on this slide deliberately a link to an article I wrote about projectors, if you're struggling to make friends. If you are somebody who adores reading and you'd actually much prefer to learn this content by reading rather than listening or watching this video, or you'd like to do both, you can pause this video and use the link that I've created there to be able to go straight across to that article. And one thing that I've got in there that I haven't really talked about in this video today is I share more about my own personal story and struggle. I wanted to make this as focused on content you could use, but if you really gain a lot from stories, learning through stories, and you want to be able to see, okay, this is where Carolyn's at now, but man, she used to really suffer with this, then you can go ahead and read that article either now or after this video is finished. And I really want you to know that you are not alone if you find it hard to make real friends. Now, when I was preparing to write the article that I had just shared on the last slide, I had asked projectors across my various communities. So my email list, my Instagram account, my Facebook page, and I'll put links in the final slides for access to those if you would like to jump on the email list or follow me on Instagram. But I'd asked them about their experiences, and here are some of the things that they said. I'm constantly baffled about how to proactively make new friends. I often feel very lonely, like nobody asks me questions about myself. I don't feel like I can let my wall down, let my guard down. I find it hard to find people that I can truly be myself with, so now I don't even try. And I have lots of acquaintances, but I don't let anybody get too close. Other projectors said, friends tell me I'm too much. I love to go all in on friendships, but that hasn't been reciprocated. I want to go deeply, really quickly with my friendships, and other people often tell me that that feels intimidating. I often feel like I must speak some strange language because I often feel so misunderstood. And I can't even count my real friends on one hand. So these were some of the things that I heard. Many projectors also said some version of this. I honestly thought I was the only one in the world like this. If you are watching this and you honestly felt like you were the only one in the world who felt like this, good news, you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone. So now that we're really clear on that, let's get clear on how we can solve the problem. Knowing that, it begins with looking at like, what is a real friend anyway? So let's look at some of these things. The difference between a friendly acquaintance and a real friend. So I'm going to say that a friendly acquaintance is somebody who is nice to you, but they don't really see you or get you. You might have surface level kind of conversations with them, and they might help if you had an immediate problem. You know, they're friendly. They might be neighbors. They might be people you run into in the coffee shop. They might be in your local running group or yoga class. And they're nice people and they're nice to you, right? But they're not people who could or would be willing or able to have a really great conversation with you if you're really struggling about how you're feeling, or if you need more than immediate help. They don't have that depth of caring about you that a real friend does. And that's not because you don't deserve that. It's just because we need to put those people in the friendly acquaintance bucket, right? Now, I have lots and lots of friendly acquaintances, and I'm really grateful because they play an important part of my social structure. But it's really important to realize they're not the people that I'm going to pick up the phone if I'm having a meltdown. They're not the people who I'm going to expect that I can go and literally cry on their shoulder, because they're probably going to be a bit freaked out. There's not the amount of depth and trust and love in a friendly acquaintance relationship that there is in what we need and truly want from a real friend. Another thing to look at is shallow versus really deep conversations. Babe, if you're a projector, you are so deep. You like deep. If we look at some of the language of some of the other projectors used in some of these last slides, I go too deep too quickly, or maybe for some of these people, they went deep in the past and then they got hurt. So now they put their walls up, right? You're designed to be deep. You're designed to go deeply into one person at a time. And you really want to have really deep, meaningful conversations like every day. And the other types don't work that way as a general rule. You know, so you can have each of the other types who have a tendency towards more or less of that. But every projector who is on a path towards greater consciousness is deep. We can't help it. That's how we are, which means that for you to have a real friend, for you, it's going to be somebody who you can have really deep conversations with. Okay. There are people who want your attention or your company, but they don't want your company specifically. So let me just clarify that. There are lots of people who will love the amount of attention you give them. If you're a projector who's really good at listening to other people and asking questions, which is something you get really skilled at as you become a more and more empowered and less conditioned projector, right? So if you're already at that point in your journey, you might realize, oh, okay, I'm having this great conversation with this person. But what you realize is, hang on, they never asked me anything about me. We're always just talking about them. That happens a lot with projectors, but it's a very one-sided relationship. So notice as you talk to people, I have people who are friendly acquaintances who I know through running circles who love the attention I give them, who love having the company, but they don't actually care whether or not that attention or company comes from me. Or they like the attention because I'm really good at being present with them, but it doesn't mean that they actually care about what's happening in my life. It doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they don't go in the real friends bucket. With me? Okay, next point, the problem with Facebook friends. Oh my gosh. Okay, please look at the word friend on Facebook and recognize it's like we need a different word. Okay, so we can have a false sense of connection. Oh, look, I have 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 friends on Facebook. You could still be completely lonely. Yeah, it gives you a false sense of what a real friend is like. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have some of my real friends connected on Facebook, but the relationship is true regardless of whether they're on there or not. I have other real friends who are not on Facebook at all, right? We communicate different ways. So please be mindful of where, and this is why I talked about like mind the language at the very beginning, is be mindful of this term of friends and who is really, really your friend. What does a friend really, really look like and behave like and feel like and sound like in your life? So let's look at my definition of what a real friend is. When I think about my real friends and the way that they interact with me, they appreciate me and my wisdom. They listen to me when I'm talking out problems or whatever, and they know that I don't need advice as much as I just need a sounding board. And to be honest, they're the kind of people I would go to if I really was not trusting my own advice, then I would be asking them for their advice. And they'd be just as likely to turn around and go, Carolyn, you don't really need my advice. What do you think you should do? They own their own stuff, so they don't project their own stuff all over me. Like, they're really emotionally intelligent humans. They enjoy my company and I feel really loved, and I enjoy their company. They feel fun and safe to be with. Now, I've also got a note here. What have I said? They're also the first people I'm going to call if I'm facing a scary or sad or overwhelming challenge that I just can't handle on my own. Now, I am really good at processing my own stuff on my own, but sometimes we just need to talk to another human and go, am I crazy? Like, what am I not seeing, right? So they're the people who I would actually go to for advice. They're the people I would actually go to if I wanted to bawl my eyes out, right? I'm not going to go to my friendly acquaintances because they're just not going to have the capacity or the willingness to hold space for me the way I want to have space held for me. Okay, now I know the way that I know that these people they really see me and get me is because they genuinely say things like this. Genuinely, I really value your wisdom. You're so good at that. Oh my God, I love you so much. These are literal like translations of things. I went through my messages from my friends. I'm like, what do they say to me that my friends in the past never used to say to me? You are such a gift. You know, I feel so blessed to have friends who say things like this. I'm so lucky that I get to have you in my life. And the most important, even if you don't have, like I have words of affirmation as one of my love languages. So I love when I hear or read these words from my friends. But even if words of affirmation is not your love language, here's a key thing. A real friend is going to ask you how you are, and then they're going to listen. And they care what your answer is. That's how I know who my real friends are. Like real friends. They ask me how I am and they care about the answer. Okay. So what's your definition of a real friend? Like you have some of mine, and I want you to borrow. This is a good time to do some writing, journaling. And I'll give you a quick idea of what you can journal around, and then you can pause the video if you want, if you have time. I want to encourage you to borrow my feeling words. So let's go back and look at this. I want for you that your real friends appreciate you and your wisdom, that they listen to you and their default isn't to try and fix you or give you advice, that they know that you need a sounding board. By the way, projectors make really great friends for projectors, just saying. Partly because we are so good at having deep conversations, partly because we are, as we become less and less conditioned, we are so good at being able to hold space for each other, but also because we know that we just need a sounding board and we know we don't need to give each other advice. And when I look at my bucket of like closest dear friends, they're not all projectors either, okay? So think about some of these feeling words, right? Your real friends are going to be people who you enjoy their company. They enjoy your company. Yeah? Okay. So also have a think about, if you're going to do this, is your idea of a real friend, if this is, you don't have the depth of friendships that you would like right now, is it somebody that you can call on the phone? Is it somebody that you can see regularly in person? Now, I say these details, like ask these detailed questions, because if you're trying to create something new, you need to be really clear on what's truly important to you in a real deep friendship. I have some of my closest friends live interstate and overseas. That's great for me because I love having lots of time alone. And it is time for me to welcome in some more in-person relationships, right? So you think about what will work for you. If you have a partner who meets lots and lots of your social needs, as I heard from one projector, then the requirement to have lots of deep, close friends isn't as high as somebody who, say, lives alone and is single, okay? So have a think about, for you, what's your definition of a real friend? If you're going to make this character up from scratch, how often do you talk to them? How often do you see them? So if you want to do that, you can pause the video and make sure you come back, because the very next thing I'm going to talk about is how to make real friends as a projector. Okay, so I think this is a good time for a sip of water. Have you had a sip of water? Let's do that now. All right. If you are not totally new to human design, you will not be surprised when you see on this screen type, strategy, and inner authority. So let's talk about it a little bit deeper than maybe you have looked at it before in the context of friendships. So your aura type, as is the language that's used in traditional human design, as a projector, projects and penetrates deeply into one other person at a time. Now, I'm going to use an analogy that's a little bit crude, and I promise you will remember it forever, and it will be super helpful. Somebody once said to me many, many years ago that our aura penetrating into the other is a lot like us having energetic sex with the other. Now, if you are somebody who has had sex, and I imagine that most of you probably have, at least once or twice or thrice, you will probably know that when you have sex with somebody you really love and you really enjoy their company, it can feel pretty fantastic. And maybe the idea of having sex with somebody who you don't want to have sex with probably feels pretty awful. Now, if you can imagine that this is what it feels like for the other person, when we penetrate into the other person with our aura, if they want us there, they are delighted. And if they don't want us there, it feels awful, right? Now, that might seem a little bit confronting. And if that brings up stuff for you, I'm sorry, you can tap with me and breathe. But it is one of the most useful things that I was taught in the first couple of years of my journey with human design. And it changed everything for me because I realized, wow, if it feels really wonderful or really awful, then I'd best be paying attention to who I am that deeply and closely connected with and engaging with on a friendship level. So now I'm extremely mindful. I'm mindful that it is not up to us individually to choose who wants to connect with us in that way. Our job, and this is where strategy helps us, our job as projectors is to notice who is showing us that they enjoy being this deeply connected with us. It's very binary, really, as a projector. They're either one of our people who delight in spending time with us and delight in being engaged and delight in the depth of connection that we can have with them, or they're not. And that's really what we're looking for when we use strategy to notice where there is recognition and invitation. Do they recognize us? Did they invite us in? Or have they not given us any kind of doorway in? Yeah. So please be really, really mindful. And that is the easiest way to work out your real friends are going to delight in the depth of connection that you're going to bring. They're going to delight in the depth of conversation. They're not going to think that there's something wrong with you when you go that deep. They're not going to think that you're broken and need fixing. They're not going to dismiss you or reject you or put up walls or make you wrong for being that deep. They're going to be delighted. Okay? So hopefully that landed. If you've got questions about that, you can pop it in the comments. And more about strategy. So hopefully at this point in your human design journey, you're really clear on what it means to wait for an invitation, and you're clear about what an invitation looks like and sounds like. So now is your turn to practice, your opportunity to practice in social situations. Did they ask you? Did they ask you about you? Did they ask you to come along to the event? Did they ask you over for tea? Did they ask you out to coffee? Did they invite you? Okay, so mindfully have a practice and consider whether or not you are asked and invited. And babe, if you are not getting invitations and you're not being asked, then I have some great suggestions further along in this class, but don't give up hope. Every projector has people who are here to love on them, to hang out with them in all sorts of different types of relationships, okay? So if it's hard now, bear with us. We've got some very specific practical tips about what to avoid and what to do. Okay, inner authority. Did you honor how you're designed to make decisions? If you have an emotional authority, did you, after you were invited to do something, wait a few days until you were clear if it was the right invitation for you? Or did you just jump at the invitation because you're like, oh, somebody invited me to something, I have to go? Pause and follow your inner authority. If you have splenic inner authority and it was in the moment and your gut said, oh, no, don't do that, then can you honor that? It's really, really important to make sure that you're with the right people in the right place. Okay, how does it feel? Like, do you feel good around this person? If you're trying to work out the depth of friendship that you have with somebody, do you feel good around them? Do you feel like they recognize you for your wisdom and the advice that they ask of you? Do they even ask for your advice? If they're one of your people, they're going to ask your advice because you're a projector and you're really wise. You're a wise guide. It's what you're here to do, right? And does the relationship feel balanced, or do you just keep giving to them more and more and more? Do they take you for granted? If they take you for granted, they're not a real friend. It's a good time to just slowly back away from the person who's taking you for granted and imagine something better. All right, and here is where we look. I have not been looking at any of these notes, so let's just do a quick catch up. Do you believe that you deserve to be loved? Do you believe that you deserve to be supported? And do you believe that you deserve to be listened to? Just notice what your initial response is when I ask you those things. And again, you can do some more journaling on this. Just ask yourself, do I believe that I deserve to be loved? And if the answer is no, that's not a problem. It's just information that you can use. You can ask yourself on any of these. You can also replace deserve with, do I think it's possible? Because this is another way that it can show up. Do I think it's possible that I can be loved? Do I think it's possible that I can be supported? Do I think it's possible that I can have somebody deeply listen to me and care about what I say? Yeah. This is really great stuff to tap on if you already know some stuff around EFT tapping. If you want to learn more, I talk about that on my YouTube channel. So I've got in there, one of the final slides, I've got a direct link, or you can go and search on YouTube, Caroline Southwell. This video is living on Karen Curry Parker's channel, but you can look for Caroline Southwell YouTube, and there is a link in right near the end of this class if you want the direct link. That will teach you some more about how to do EFT tapping if you don't already know. I make it simple. Remember, my superpower is simplifying the heck out of everything. And if you already know quite a lot about EFT, quite a lot of my clients are EFT practitioners, and so I help them make their work even more effective. So if you already know quite a lot about EFT, if you've done any level of any kind of training and you want to make it more effective, then I also talk about that on my channel. So that could be helpful. This is gold to tap on. So if you need to pause now and do that, and then come back and join us. Okay, so how to make real friends as a projector. Ensure that you're in the right place at the right time to meet the right people who might become your best friends forever and ever, or even just a meaningful chunk of time. To have that experience, you need to follow your strategy and your inner authority. You need to stop trying to be something that you're not. Stop trying to fit in and decondition or unlearn those beliefs and behaviors that are not serving you. All right. And you're going to make more progress if you stop doing these things. Stop butting into conversations. Stop speaking up when no one is listening to you. Stop talking louder just to be heard. If you do any of these things, it's not bad. It's just not working for you. Stop trying to get everyone to like you. You're not here to be liked by everyone, babe. You're not. You're here to be liked, found and liked by your people, and mostly ignored by everyone else. Simple. So you can use your strategy to notice who likes me, who doesn't. There's nothing to be fixed with the people who don't like you or the people who just want your attention and can't see and get and appreciate and love the depth of you. You're just looking for your people. And you can just let everyone else be themselves. And stop trying to fit in. You're not a generator. You're not here to be in a group. You're here to be in deep one-on-one conversations, deep one-on-one friendships with people. Please, please, please stop following any how to make friends advice from a book or from a coach or a mentor, any well-meaning person, a parent. If it doesn't feel totally delightful and fun for you, chuck it out, please. Definitely stop accepting invitations that don't feel good, where you don't feel recognized and honored and like you're handpicked. It's got to feel like a special invitation, or it's not really a proper invitation. Just saying. And stop accepting invites where the other person just wants company, not your company specifically, or they just want numbers, like they want a big party, so they want as many people as possible and they're just inviting everyone. If you don't get a personal invite from somebody, it's not a true invitation. In fact, I'm going to suggest that you stop trying to make friends altogether. No. Just to be clear, I really want you to have deep, meaningful, lasting, gorgeous relationships, friendships. I wouldn't have spent hours putting together this whole presentation if I didn't want that for you and if I didn't believe it was possible. I do want it for you. I do believe it's possible. But notice the words here that I underlined. Please stop trying so hard to make friends. It will be easy. When you follow type, strategy, and inner authority, when you clean up your beliefs around what you deserve and what you think is possible, people will just come out of the woodwork. People will say the most delightful things to you and think that your depth and uniqueness is awesome, and they'll tell you and they'll want more of it. There's nothing that you need to try and do or make happen. Just focus on being yourself. So let's do some of these things instead. Actively spend time doing things you love to do. And you might even want to pause this and scribble down your version. You can take a screenshot. That's possible. Hi for me up in the corner. But if you write these down in your own words, you are far more likely to remember them and therefore more likely to be able to apply them. And therefore your life is more likely to change with hopefully the addition of more wonderful friends. So let's do these things. Spend more time doing things that you love. Actively practice and curiously experiment with your strategy as a projector. Honor your inner authority. Get really, really good at knowing how to follow your inner authority. So you do accept the right invitations at the right time with the right people for you more often. Decondition. My biggest tip probably of the whole lot, because a whole lot of the others become so much easier. Decondition your old unhelpful beliefs and behaviors and fall in love with your precious self so you can make yourself your own best friend. That was one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got from one of my friends who is a thriving projector, who said, oh, look, I'm just going to tell you everything that worked for me. And the biggest thing that she did was she got busy falling in love with herself as an amazing friend. And then other people were just a reflection of the energy that she held. Get me? Okay. So now you might be thinking, Caroline, oh, we're here. Let's look at this. Let's look at this slide. I'm one ahead of myself. Yes. If you can follow these suggestions and quit doing the quote unquote wrong things and start doing the right things for you, you may just find yourself in wonderful friendships like these ones, like these people. Some happy photos of people together. Now, when I asked other projectors, I asked projectors about their experience with friendships, and I didn't just ask projectors who were struggling. I also asked projectors who were thriving. And you might say, well, look, Carolyn, why didn't you just look at your own life for experience? And I did. A lot of this presentation, a lot of that article that I pointed to is stuff that I've learned, drawn from my own experience. But if you've been a projector for any length of time, you'll know that we're not very good at analysing ourselves, and we're great at analysing other people. We're great at being able to intuitively feel into or see patterns, or depending on your individual configuration, great at working out other people, guiding other people, not so great at looking at ourselves. So what I did was I looked at some of the things that other projectors who are thriving in this area of their life said. They said things like, I find it easy to make friends. I've always had a handful of long-term, very special girlfriends. My friends constantly recognize and acknowledge me. I have a very solid village who appreciate my authentic self, and we talk about everything. And I have so many friends. And what I noticed when I looked underneath, when I felt into their words and I analyzed the patterns, because that's how I'm designed, what I noticed is that their beliefs were aligned with receiving and experiencing deep, real, and nurturing friendships. So, very quickly in the time we have left, since beliefs are so important, let's look at some of those before we wrap up. Here are some of the things that I heard from projectors who were struggling. I suck at making friends. People just use me and take me for granted. No one wants to spend time with me. There must be something wrong with me. And everyone I meet is shallow and they just talk about the most boring stuff. Now, when I put on my EFT practitioner hat, and that makes me very, very good at being able to like look under the lid, under the surface and see what's holding particular patterns of thought, beliefs, behaviors in place. What I noticed underneath almost all of these was the energy or belief of, I don't think it's possible to make real friends. I am not valuable. I don't deserve to be loved and supported. I am not lovable, valuable, lovable. I don't feel safe being myself, or I don't feel safe being vulnerable and authentic around other people. I wonder, how are these for you? They feel true for you. This is really great stuff for journaling and pondering. It's really great for noticing how does it feel in your body when I say these things. If you say these things out loud, how true do they feel? If you say, I am not lovable, does it feel true? If you say, I don't deserve to be loved, does it hurt? If you get any kind of emotional reaction or any kind of resonance with any of these beliefs, they're sitting in your system and they're true, and they're affecting what's happening in your outside 3D reality. They're affecting and directly contributing to the friends that you do or don't have, the depth of friendship that you would do or don't have. So let's talk about how that's true. Why it matters so much what you believe. The magnetic monopole, if you've never heard of it, is like a one-sided magnet. It only attracts. So normal magnets attract and repel. The magnetic monopole only attracts. It's a bit like the pole in the center of the earth that gives us gravity, that only pulls us down to the ground and attracts us towards the center of the earth. The magnetic monopole in human design is said to live in the G center, the identity center, which is right around here. It used to be the heart chakra, it's split into two. So it's right around here. And it attracts into your life the things that you have put your focus and attention on, and in accordance with what you believe you deserve, what you expect, what you think is possible. So if you put your attention on friends and you're like, okay, I want more friends, but I don't think I deserve to be really seen, then that's what you're going to pull into your experience. You're going to literally collapse it out of the quantum field, if you know that language. If you're focused on friends and you go, oh, but whenever I get close to women, they stab me in the back, then you will potentially pull in experiences with women where you feel like they betray you or they talk behind your back. So that's how the law of attraction is working from a very, very simply in a micro lesson, working from a human design perspective, is you have where you put your focus and attention. You have this really strong magnet that's attracting things to you. You put your attention on the thing that you consciously want, and then your unconscious beliefs are going to filter exactly what kind of, in this case, friends or friendships or friendship opportunities or conversations or social interactions you have. So it's that interplay of conscious and unconscious. Now, the last point here, your life is being created almost entirely by your unconscious beliefs. There are, let's for simplicity's sake, just say the conscious and the unconscious parts of the mind. Now, we put a lot of focus, traditionally, we put a lot of focus on what the conscious mind is up to. I consciously say, I want more friends. So I'm going to put my focus there. And maybe I'll do some affirmations and I'll try and stick to trying to put my attention on, I want to make more friends or receive more friends, however you are looking at it. And it's easy for us to think that we can just use our mental power or our willpower or our some level of motivation to stay connected to that conscious desire. However, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I think has been on one of Karen's quantum conversations before, if you don't know the name Dr. Bruce Lipton, then you can look him up. He's a powerhouse in this field. Big fan of EFT, really big understander and pioneer in helping us understand how life doesn't work the way we originally thought it did. And one of the things he talks about is that the unconscious mind is about 1 million times stronger than the conscious mind, which means if you say consciously, I want more loving, nurturing friendships with people who live around the corner who I can have a coffee with, but your unconscious mind / computer says, I don't deserve it. It's not possible. It's not safe. I don't have time. There's no people like me in this area. Whatever stories your unconscious mind might hold, it will block every single time your ability to be able to have that friend show up in your life, which is why I'm such a fan of belief change work and shifting old energies and old patterns out of the body. And it's why I started marrying EFT with human design very early on in my journey with human design, because I realized if we just tried to decondition the way that the wonderful Ra taught us, I would still be back in the land of Carolyn has no friends if I hadn't integrated a really effective tool for being able to, gently break and prize apart some of this stuff. So what do you do about it? Well, I just talked about it. You use a tool that is deeply effective for belief and behavior change. I love EFT tapping. If you haven't caught that by now, you haven't been listening. There are lots of other tools. So if you already have an effective tool, if you have a way of being able to make these changes that really works for you, great. Just apply it liberally. Do it daily like you brush your teeth, or even a couple of times a day like you do brush your teeth. Clear out the old pain, the old memories, the old energy, the old patterns of the way that you used to do friends and the things that have taught you how you should do friends. And finally, tell, write, and reinforce a new story and consciously practice it until it becomes unconsciously or automatically natural, like you're just living it. Yeah. All right, we did it in under an hour. Yay! Okay, so if you want more resources and you love the way that I teach, if you're still listening at this point, you obviously like me to some degree. So you can go and watch more of my videos at the link there. So you can just pause and just copy that one down. Or if you search for Caroline Southwell YouTube, you'll probably see one of these versions of my smiling face and you'll know you're in the right spot, especially if you see stuff about human design and EFT. I have playlists on both and I'm regularly adding content to both. If you like reading emails, I write stories and share the resources that I'm creating with my email list, usually the very first people to get it. The link is there so that you can join me there if that is something that you would like. And if you know that you would like a private one-on-one container to be able to do some of this work, I do human design sessions, deconditioning with EFT, and with my clients who request it, particularly my projectors, who are well resourced. So if you already know a lot about human design and don't need me to teach you anything more, but you just need a sounding board, or you already have your own tool for change. So maybe it's EFT or maybe it's something else that allows you to shift stuff out, but you just need help with somebody being able to see the blind spots. I also do that within my sessions. So you can find the options available at the link there. And what I didn't put in there, but if you have any questions, like if you have questions that you want to be able to email me, or you're not sure like what is the right option for you, or you really want to do group coaching programs or any of that, you can contact me through joining my email list. That's going to be the easiest way to do it. Okay, and thank you to Karen and the team at Karen Curry Pucker and all these people for their beautiful photos who I used off Unsplash for this presentation. And you, thank you for showing up. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. Remember, I will attempt to get back to the comments on this particular video, but otherwise the best ways to get in contact with me are through these links and or commenting directly on videos that I have on my personal YouTube channel. I hope that this video lesson has served you really, really well. Please go ahead and take even one thing from here that really, really landed for you, stood out for you, and go and apply it. And if you want to tell me how it went, or you want more support from me, then I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.